In this video, we are going to learn about the Proterozoic Eon. This eon starts at 2.5 billion years ago and it ends at 0.54 billion years ago. In geologic calendar, the Proterozoic Eon is shown as the time between June 16 to November 19th. It is the longest eon in Earth's history, covering about 2 billion years of time. The meaning of the word Proterozoic is earlier life. It is helpful to note that this eon begins with appearance of oxygen in the atmosphere and it ends just before the proliferation of complex life. At the beginning of this eon, the length of the day was 12 hours, just half of what we have today, and in the atmosphere, the percentage of oxygen was 0.65. Since Proterozoic is a relatively newer eon, scientists have more details about it. Hence, we divide it into three parts, which are known as Paleoproterozoic, Mesoproterozoic, and Neoproterozoic. The time span of Paleoproterozoic era is 2.5 billion years to 1.6 billion years ago. Paleoproterozoic era was tectonically very active period in Earth's history. During 2.5 to 1.5 billion years ago time, a supercontinent named Columbia or Nuna got formed. We know that towards the end of the Archean eon, cyanobacteria started releasing oxygen in the ocean. The oxygen produced by cyanobacteria was a waste product of the photosynthesis process carried out by them. And the irony is that this oxygen itself threatened their existence. The accumulation of oxygen in the ocean and subsequent threat to the life of cyanobacteria is known as the Great Oxidation Event, which occurred between 2.4 to 2.1 billion years ago. Around the same time, the first ice age happened, which is known as the Huronian glaciation. Now we move to the Mesoproterozoic era of the Proterozoic Eon, whose time period is 1.6 to 1 billion years ago from now. Around 1.5 billion years ago from now, a primal multicellular life was formed in the ocean. It took 2.5 billion years for the single cellular life to transform into a multicellular form. 1.27 billion years ago, the first fungi on land was observed, and 1.18 billion years ago, the first photosynthetic life evolved on land. Between 1.2 to 0.9 billion years ago, another supercontinent named Rodinia got formed. You can see the map of Rodinia on the screen, which was located around the equator. You can identify some modern land masses like Madagascar, India, and Australia on it. Now we come to the last era of the Proterozoic Eon, whose name is Neoproterozoic, whose time span is 1 billion years ago to 0.54 billion years ago. 0.83 billion years ago, land plants and algae diverged. 0.8 billion years ago, the first animal appeared in sea and it was a sea sponge. Between 0.72 to 0.63 billion years ago, the biggest ever glaciation event occurred, which is known as the Snowball Earth event. And this was the event when the entire Earth was covered in ice. Between 0.6 and 0.5 billion years ago from now, yet another supercontinent got formed, which is known as Pannotia. You can see on the screen that it was located mostly in the southern hemisphere. At the end of the Proterozoic Eon, a very important event occurred. The Earth got its ozone layer. This enabled life to diversify on land. At this time, the length of a day was 21 hours and 20 minutes. Temperature was 15 degrees Celsius. In atmosphere, the oxygen grew to 14%. And this was the time when the first animal with shell developed in the ocean. With this, we have reached the end of the Proterozoic Eon. In the next videos, you will be learning about the Phanerozoic Eon. Thank you.